Welcome to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. My name is Kayla Swanson and I am your host. And hanging out with me today is Lindsay Haney. What's up, Lindsay? How are you?
Hey, Kayla.
I'm so excited to have you on. And you guys who are listening are in for a treat today. We're going to do things a little bit different, not in terms of the value that we're going to bring, because today is going to be a special episode. But Lindsay, when Lindsay agreed to do the podcast with me, Lindsay has a beautiful story. And you've been in our world since the beginning, right?
Yeah, since the get-go.
So crazy. So we've gotten to have how many years has that been? Like 9 or something? A long time. 6, 9. I never know. I can't keep track anymore. But gotten to see you just grow so much in your business from just having a salon to now having a med spa. So I'd love to know first, tell us a little bit about your journey, like a brief journey. Tell us about you.
Oh, okay. So, before I was a salon owner, I was a successful hairstylist. Like most of us are, we get really good at our craft, and then we think we can just go ahead and open a business. And that was a big learn just from the get-go, is starting something that you really had no clue what the hell you were doing. I was a successful hairstylist. I didn't know anything about business, but I'm also a risk taker. So I went for it. And I've been in business now for 13 years in Austin, Minnesota. And over the years, we've had ebbs and flows in the business and so many learns. And I had to invest time, money, mentors, coaches, to become the successful business owner that I am today. And I've learned that I have to myself keep evolving because my business keeps evolving. My team keeps evolving. So, making sure that I'm investing just as much into myself personally as I am professionally, as I do to my team and my business.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think because there's so many people out there telling this is the right way to do it. And this is and I think the learning from the people who've actually been experiencing it on the day to day is always a valuable thing, because your experience, whether you're listening, you may be able to relate. But I think overall encompassing learning from people who've been through it and just the decisions that they've had to make is so valuable. So I'd love to ask in the beginning of your salon, what have been some really pivotal decisions that you have made that have really led to your success?
Yeah. So I think once again is really investing in myself personally, so that I had the mindset to be a good leader. So I've done a lot of personal development, whether it's Little Voice Mastery, the mentor program. I've really invested time and energy into my community and becoming a leader inside my community. Really serving and, evolving as your team evolves. And, we all went through the pandemic. That was the biggest pivot anyone could face inside of a business, which I feel fortunate to have been able to go through it. And a lot of us business owners, it was really a defining moment for us, because unlike the rest of the country, we didn't get unemployment. So we were kind of we got to figure something out here. And either you were paralyzed in fear or it motivated the hell out of you. And fortunately, I had a fire inside me, and I'm an outside of the box thinker. And so I found so many incredible opportunities during that time to reinvest into my business, myself personally. I had my own personal challenges I was going through in my personal life. So it was kind of just a big head-on all at once. And, after the giant storm becomes a beautiful rainbow. So if you can see that and you have that mindset to keep winning, we all get a different hand dealt to us, and it's how you play it. Right. Yeah. So, really having my own learns and growing from that experience. And I think our whole industry shifted at that point. And so there was a lot of learns through that with team building and really realizing who fit my culture and who I wanted inside my salon to grow to that,
Yeah.
what was going to happen next post
Yeah.
pandemic. And now we're seeing that, the rainbow after the storm.
Yeah.
And,
After
you
going through
know,
so much.
yeah, and I learned so much during that time about myself. And then I was able to bring that to my team and give those tools. And we really have focused a lot on personal development inside our salon, along with the
It's
skill set
huge.
with education. So it's
Yeah.
one of our core values, get
I
values as
love
a
that.
team. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I love that. Now, in the spirit of like thinking of, core values and like, how have you been able to like have a vision for your salon? Like, as you opened it 13 years ago and you have a vision, like, how do you go about like getting your team bought into that vision so that one, they stick around, two, you guys can make something bigger because guys are aligned? Like, talk to me about kind of how you work with your team to align your visions together.
We're Forest, born on the salon floor and built for and by hair and beauty professionals like you. Forest is your marketing, your reporting, your reputation management. You need one easy-to-use system that does it all. Forest, together we grow.
Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you? With Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you so you can cover your back bar expenses, reduce your color waste, and generate more profit in your salon. Click the link in the description to get 10% off your first year.
I don't think I truly had a vision until post-pandemic and myself going through my own personal challenges. It was the first time in my life I'd ever been single. I was an independent mom, I like to call it. And
Love
I
that.
was early 40s. I was 40. I had just turned 40 and I literally had to start my whole life over. And I realized that meant I didn't have a retirement fund. The only opportunity as a stylist where I could make more income was by working more hours. And so I realized I didn't want my staff to ever be in my situation where I depended on somebody else for my future. And so, immediately what I did was like, I need to figure out my own retirement plan. And I never had an opportunity in my career as a stylist before I opened a salon or when I opened a salon to be able to offer anything like that. So fortunately, I have a really good friend who is in financial planning, and I got to talk with her. We came up with a plan of how we could offer that to my staff and really,
Wow.
created a career path and identified a whole bunch of different opportunities of avenues of streams of income that they have that they can create for themselves. And I also created more leadership inside my salon. I've been working in my salon for 13 years and slowly getting outside from behind the chair where I can work on my business more and giving people inside my company that same opportunity. So I have leaders inside my salon that are slowly stepping away from the chair and taking on different roles that are going to grow our business.
That's amazing. I love that because, like, yeah, I know, like, I've met some of your leaders, and they are very powerful people, and I love. You can tell the extension of the people that they are and how that they treat, like, how they feel about their position when you have like led them in that way. I would love to share with those listening, if you're thinking about having leaders in your team or in your salon, or if you currently have them, what are some really important like roles that you've given up or like really important ways that you have empowered them to take things over so you could get out from behind the chair?
Yeah. So the first thing was I needed to get out of my own way. When you have played all those roles, worn all those hats all the time, it can be hard to give up some of those tasks and responsibilities. And I screwed up a lot along the way. And that's how I ended up
Yeah.
getting good at things. And so you have to give them the opportunity to screw up as well and support them in their own way to figure out the solution. Nothing's really end of the world. Like
Yeah.
inside the business, like the things that they're doing, nothing is going to collapse our business, and allowing them the safe space to have that empowerment. And I also realized like I'm not the smartest person in the salon. There are people that can do things that are way smarter, way more efficient than me, and enjoy doing some of the things that I didn't maybe love doing before.
Yeah.
And it fuels their fire, it fills their cup, and it empowers them. And we're seeing the result of that inside the salon with the culture. And,
Mm.
I think anytime that you're in a lead role, once you're tapped on the shoulder, you naturally kind of step up your game if you're in the right seat.
Yeah. Yeah. Now these people, like, because how many people do you have in a leadership role at your salon?
So right now I have 3 people that are in the leadership program, but the cool part is we have with the med spa, which is I also own a med spa that opened 2 years ago. And we've created a leadership team between both companies that are supporting each other. So
Wow.
right now that we have 3 from the salon and 2 inside the med spa, including myself, that are all working together. Every week
Wow.
we have a 90-minute meeting. We all have different roles. We all have different responsibilities, and we get together and support each other on getting those things done.
Yeah, that's huge. It's like having other people taking different legs of leading things because as you start to get bigger and bigger, there's lots more to handle and to deal with. And if you stretch yourself, like if you're listening and you're doing everything on your own, like you're going to run yourself thin because you're going to it's impossible. Like you think, oh, I got to just do it because I'm the best person for the job or I know how I want it done. And like if you get to a point in your life when you're just like, well, even though I have a way I want it done, you can't do everything. And then other people have just as much of a good idea or a better idea. Like Lindsay just said, like, I'm not the smartest person in the room. And it's not necessarily like that you're not also smart, just somebody else could maybe do it better or do it just as good and then take that off of your plate and then you will grow. And we talked a lot of episodes lately about like you're getting stuck in your salon because you feel like you have to do everything yourself and you're holding it like Lindsay said earlier, getting out of your own way. And so I want to talk about like what are some things that have happened or like how have you worked through and that how have you come to the conclusion that getting out of your own way is what needed to happen?
Well, I think I realized that, I was constantly like having this ebb and flow in my business where I would hit a ceiling, and it was um, the more I actually stepped away from the chair. I think we all have that fear of like, oh, if I'm not working behind the chair, where is that income? Where is that revenue going to come from? And
Yeah.
the more I'm stepping away, the the revenue increases, which it's literally getting out of your own way. And when I believe Jason was the one that said it, but when you're staying behind the chair, you are preventing somebody else from creating an income and a career from themselves. And I was like, oh, wow. And it's true because I've been working a certain schedule behind the chair that fits my lifestyle that doesn't necessarily coordinate with the salon shifting that we do. And so
Yeah.
and I think too, like when you have a culture of people in your salon that are cheering you on and they want that for you, and that's what my team is. They're cheering me on. They're like holding me to it, and I'm emotionally attached to my guests. I've been doing hair for almost 26 years. So I have clients that I have been with me for 25, 26 years. And so some of those people I see more often than I do some of my family members and vice versa. So it's really is letting some of those things, those emotional attachments go and realizing too that like my stylists that I'm passing these guests on to are giving them a different experience, a almost even better experience than I've been able to give because of, the way our relationships change over time.
Yeah,
So
for
as
sure.
much as you want to stay as professional as possible, when you know so much about somebody for so long, those lines get crossed and blurred a little bit.
So you said that your staff like really like cheers you on, and I'd love to know a little bit more about that. Like how did you create that? How did you create an environment where you guys are, like they want to see you succeed? Because I know like a lot of times we hear people say like, oh, my staff, they're leaving or they don't like, they're not part of it, like how did you start to create that culture where they want to see you succeed, you want to see them succeed? Talk to our audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think it really comes down to your core values and your code of honor. And when I started hiring, I explained in that first interview, or when I sat down and said, "Hey, you got the job," like there might come a point where we just realize like we're not the salon for you, and that's okay. Like everyone has their place. And, I always talk from the very beginning, like culture is really important for us. And not everyone's a team player, and that's okay too. But really defining like this is how we work. We work together as a team. We want to come here and be happy. We want our guests to have the best experience, and we want to have fun and support each other. And so, when it's been pretty obvious that the person isn't a fit, because we've had that conversation up front, most of the time there's just like a relief, a weight lifted off them when we sit down and have that conversation of like, I think you can feel it that we're just not the salon for you. And, and to give credit, a lot of people aren't quitters in our industry. And so there's this relief of like, yeah, this isn't my energy. This isn't my jive, and that's okay. Yeah. And I am able to still maintain, good relationships with those people because there's an agreement up front, a clear agreement. It's talked about, it's understood, and there's like this release that happens. And I think people appreciate that.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
Sustain Beauty Co. has two of the best tools to help you save water, time, and a bunch of money. Join the clean water salon movement with EcoHead's water-saving shampoo nozzles and scrummy plant-based microfiber towels. Available at sustainbeauty.co.
And, for me, a green flag for somebody is that somebody that really geeks out on personal development. Like once they're introduced to it, because, I think most of us haven't had opportunities to have any kind of personal development until we're older in life, if it's something that our industry or career offers. And once you have that opportunity, like everything is better. Like home is better, work is better, relationships are better. And so now a red flag for me is somebody that's like closed off to it. And that's one of our core values is personal development. And now we're seeing that inside the salon, like that is a reflection in our culture. So I would definitely say it's the personal development piece that has really changed the culture of our salon.
Yeah. I love something you said about like our core values. And I think for you listening, like get really clear on why, like even like Lindsay said, like she started her salon, but she didn't really have a big vision when she first started. And so no matter where you're at in your salon, maybe you've been open for 20 years, maybe just opened a couple years ago, like knowing, like realizing that success comes when you start to get that big vision. And like, what am I really doing here? Am I just opening a business because I didn't want to work for anybody, I want to work for myself? Do you want to lead people? Like figure out why, get to the bottom of your why you opened your salon business in the first place. And figure out what your core values are. Like, okay, then what culture do you want to create? What kind of people do you want to attract? And what do you want to be? And you can look at the people like, okay, well, I have 7 people in my salon and 4 of them have these qualities that I really, really love. And you start to piece together like, okay, this is like that culture is when I want to continue to cultivate and bring people in that match that. And then you get really clear on that when you hire people in, like how important it is to, like have those clear agreements up front. Like, this is who we are. Like, I remember when I got hired here, Jason said, really intimidating, but Jason's like, if the team doesn't like you, you won't stay. Like if it doesn't jive, like you won't, because the culture here, the culture inside of your company is so important. Because if people don't get along or they don't match, then drama, then other things start to kind of like weed in and just create a bad environment. And so I love what you said about having those core values and figuring out what they are and then let that kind of trickle down, but hold to them and don't falter on that. So I'd love to ask Lindsay, like when you know somebody's not a good culture fit, how do you start to like, I know you said it's easy to have the conversation because you've already had the clear agreements, but what kind of process do you go through to be like, okay, this person's not a good fit, to come to the decision that you need to let them go?
Yeah. And so I think it's not a knee-jerk reaction, because for me, I sometimes I want somebody to win more than they want for themselves. And so
Yeah.
I'll either start with leads, check in with them and make a plan. And, if they're following it and they're still not seeing the results that they're wanting to achieve, then I come into, and I'm really hands-on with my team. Like, I know everybody really well, and I'm really good at feeling energy. Like, you can feel when the energy's off, right? And everyone else can feel it too. And sometimes it's just that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, hey, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just feeling a different shift in your energy. Like, I just want to, sit down with you and make sure that, like, if you feel like this isn't the place for you, it's okay. Like, there's no hard feelings. I want you to be successful in whatever way it is. And just being like, not being afraid to have those conversations up front. And I think when you start out the interview, or you start out with the hiring with that conversation, it's not, they're not taken back by it. There's a relief that happens. And I've had people where I was like, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. And they ended up completely proving me wrong. And usually it was after some form of personal development opportunity that we had, or just really connecting, having their team kind of check in on them and kind of figure out what's going on. But yeah, it's never been a knee-jerk reaction, but I have learned to not hold on as long as I have in the past, like avoiding that conversation. And I've had to do that with some high producers. Like, I've had to let go of high producers, and that's scary as a business owner, but what I've also learned is, when you let that, the energy that doesn't match the culture, everyone else like blossoms afterwards. Like, I would say that's been my biggest learn, is everyone else, the whole salon changes, the energy shifts, and all of a sudden people are producing more without trying, because of just the happiness and the overall energy of the salon.
Yeah. And that's so huge. And like, again, like I see it in our old culture here, and just like the people you surround yourself matters, especially with something like I've gotten to meet so many just salon owners, but also their team members. And there's just such a passion for people, and a passion for just doing something bigger in the world and being a part of something bigger than yourself. And like, it's just so cool. I'm literally coolest people in this industry. And if you can relate, just say relate. If you are listening on YouTube or yell it at your radio, you know the drill. But I want to like you were talking about, like the energy that, like when somebody walks in and one person has really negative energy, it really does. It's like 5 people can be the most positive, that one person's negative. It's just, you're aware of it. Like, we carry energy. So like, just people's presence matters in a room. And when you walk in every day and the same person's being low time and time and time again, and I think having that conversation with them first and be like, hey, like, is everything okay? And like supporting them first, and then coming in and be like, okay, like, I doesn't feel like you really enjoy being at work here. Like, and then I like how you were saying, like, do you feel like this is a good fit for you? And letting them be like, is this a mutual decision? And having that conversation. Because typically if you're seeing it, then they're also feeling it. And they may just be afraid of like, well, I can't find another job, or like, I don't like, or maybe they want also too, they may want to have a better energy. They just don't know how to get there. So be like, hey, I've noticed this. Like, can I come in alongside you and support you? So if you own a salon, typically you will be if you're listening to this. But if you have your salon and you want to pursue more personal development stuff with your staff, or like you are working with people, like, yes, you are serving guests and that's a huge part of it, but serving people is a big part of it. And so getting to a place where if you don't feel like you're a good person to lead your team, or like, yeah, but I don't have the time to one-on-one with them or build those relationships or have those, like, know your staff very well, then find somebody who can be that part, build that leadership team, bring in somebody who does do people really well. Because if you're struggling with your team, find somebody who can serve them too. Cause like I can't remember who said it, but they were saying like, not only are your guests your clients, but your team. I think it was Jason last podcast episode of like, not only are your guests your clients, but your team's your clients too, in terms of like serving people. So what have been like, Lindsay, some big, huge, like decisions that you've made in your salon that have just been in order of cultivating the core values with your team? What have been some big things that you've implemented that have really helped move that needle?
Yeah. So I think, sitting down and creating your core values with your leadership team and the vision, having that clear vision and really being clear with your team about that and reviewing that, like going back to that often, whether it's monthly or quarterly, just to check in to make sure that you're still, people are still remembering what that is about, why. And I think, other pivotal moments have just been like taking risks and going for it and not being afraid to fail. Opening the med spa, that is not my industry. I don't know anything about it. It's not my wheelhouse. I'm not an advanced practice esthetician. I am not a nurse injector. And so I had those like same feelings of like when I opened my own salon before, but even a little bit scarier because when I opened my salon, I could work my butt off just doing hair all day and pay the bills. And this time I started another business and I can't do that. And there's something refreshing about that because inside my salon business, I have been working my way out from behind the chair, being that operator, and to be able to create that same vision and core values, starting a business this time, and understanding that what I want in the culture. And the beautiful thing that happened was we started the med spa inside the salon. We built one room, started really small. And within less than a year, we were in its own space. And it was great because we did 2 separate exercises, team meetings of core values and our vision, and separately with the 2 separate teams. And they were identical. They matched.
Wow.
And I was like, holy smokes, this is like a dream come true. Like I had a feeling because obviously I was part of hiring the staff at the med spa, but now we are working together in a leadership structure to support both businesses. And it's really smart because it's the same market. So the salon basically fed the med spa and vice versa. So that was a giant risk because it was something that I knew nothing about. And I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. And I feel really grateful because that industry is growing insanely fast. And we were the first med spa in my city. And it's learning to take risks and not being afraid to fail.
Oh, I love that. I love like, don't be afraid to take risks. I know it can feel scary. And I know if you're like, you may have something in your mind, maybe it's popping up into your mind right now where you're like, yeah, I know this risk I need to be taking and you're very drawn to it. I just would encourage you to just take it because it's like, even if it blows up or even in your opinion, or maybe it doesn't go the way you want it to go, everything kind of tends to always work out. And if you don't take risks, then you will stay stuck. And if you don't want to take a risk alone, find a support system. Because I know, Lindsay, that you've had an incredible and support system in the academy and outside, or the people you've met in the academy, is being a part of that. It's like when you have people surrounding you, helping you make those decisions or even supporting you, get yourself a team, get a coach, whatever it looks like for you. If you feel stuck at all in any capacity at your salon right now, then find yourself a team or a group of people who are fighting this battle along with you, or they're not even necessarily fighting a battle. I don't put that picture in there, but like they're working the same thing. They're doing the same things. They're making the same decisions, just a different flavor or a different city or a different place. So find yourself a team and an external team that you can like turn to, and also equip your internal team. Like just know that it matters. If you feel like your team is not connected or they're not jiving together or you have two separate salons and the leadership team don't agree on the core values and you see a lot of division, then like Jason always says, it really starts with you as the salon owner and as the leader. Like it starts with you and how is your mindset? What are your core values? What are you striving for? Are you striving for more money? Are you striving for things that like, and then because people can feel it, like people working for you, they can feel what's really important to you. And I think Lindsay, one thing I love about you is like you really can feel from you how much you love your people. You love what you do. Yes, you want to make more money. And yes, you want to build your business, but you know to do that is to build your people. So get yourself, figure out what your core values are, and enroll your team and supporting you in that. Come up, like ask them, like, what do you, I would challenge you to ask your team, what do you think our core values are? And if they say, I don't know, then that's a good place to start and to look at. So I'd love to know, Lindsay, like what are some, like as people are in the thick of it right now, I would love to, what would be your advice to somebody listening right now in terms of like all you've been through? Because I know we didn't get too deep into all the things that you've been through, but like what would be your advice to somebody listening on terms of like where they're at, a voice of encouragement to them?
Well, I would say, start with controlling what you can control. Start with you. Like, check yourself. Do everything you can to have a healthy mindset. Some of the things that I do is I practice gratitude. I have a gratitude journal that I do every morning and every night. I incorporate physical activity into my lifestyle, and it's not necessarily for my body, but more for my mind and my spirit. Like that is my stress relief. I've learned that I need to get the stressful cortisol hormone out of my body. And so I need to physically move. Like that's being responsible for my mental health, or taking care of those certain things I know in my life that I need to be. One, to be a good leader, a good mom, a good partner, a good friend, is really taking care of yourself first. And and then, really identifying those core values. And, at the time I had a team that I was like, these are my people. And I did that core value exercise with them where they wrote down their core values, and we were able to kind of combine what those what those values are that we all had in common. So finding, even if you only have two people, like if you have two people in your salon that you really value and you know that they're your people, sit down, figure out what their values are. And that's something not everyone really understands the definition of what a value, and having those discussions and making that, relevant in your space, and something that's written somewhere, whether it's in your back room, whether it's in your handbook, anywhere you can have it and it's apparent and you see it very often. And any kind of question, if it's a business question, a guest experience question, you can always take it back to those values. Does that match up with what our values are? It'll also help you make decisions moving forward. So, and making sure that you're still supporting that culture that you really enjoy, love, embrace, and want to even foster, make an even bigger, better culture that will continue to evolve.
I love that. I love that so much. I've actually recently, we had a destination training a while ago. We had Blair Singer, who's a guest speaker at one of our destination trainings. And he was talking about having like personal core values too, like aside from business, like, because to have it in your business, but also I took for my own self, because I don't technically own a business. I work for one, obviously. And, but having my own personal, so I actually recently wrote down my core values. What are my core values as a human being? And I'm a mom, and that's like my core values as a mom and an employee and a sister and a daughter and all those things, and write down like who am I? And then it really does, like Lindsay, you just said, like it helps you make decisions. It helps you know, what am I working towards? And is this going against or for what we're trying to do? And like our mission statement is to elevate the world's perception of the beauty industry. And so everything that we do, it's mission first, client second, individual third. And it's like we're striving for that mission, and it's important. It's important to know what you want, and it's not only necessarily things. Like if you get a vision board and you're like, oh, I want a big house, and I want, like, yes, those things are really important. But the bigger things, the things that are going to move the bigger needle, are like, what do you want? Who do you want to be? How do you want to impact the world? Or how do you want, like, those kind of things? You get really clear on that, and then everything else kind of starts to fall into place. And then when you go to make decisions, should I open a med spa? It's a big yes, because you know it aligns with what you're doing and the opportunity is there. So Lindsay, I really appreciate you being here. If you are listening to this and you're like, man, those sounds like some cool people to hang out with, I would love to give you some more information on how you can hang out with us more often. Come to our next destination training, be a part of this. I'll put a link in the description where you can send us a direct message and talk to us about, and we'd love to have you hang out with us all the time, because this is the kind of conversation that we have on the daily. So I love getting to have you, Lindsay, here on the podcast and share with the world what it's kind of like to talk with us in the conversations that we have on our daily calls or coaching calls, all those kind of things of just like, how do you move that needle? How do you overcome things? How do you strive to create a better leadership team, sell more retail, and all the things that matter kind of come down to who are you? And that's one of my favorite things about our academy. So thank you so much, Lindsay, for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.